DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. We're here at Iowa State University. Today our show is going to be about heat stress in cattle. With the backlog of cattle that couldn't go to the packing plant because of COVID, we're going to have bigger cattle out in the feed yards this summer, something we need to be prepared for, something we need to understand, so stay tuned.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first, and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson and I'm the Department Chair of Animal Science here at Iowa State University. It's been a pleasure to come back home. I still have 4 daughters in Kansas and I am still adjunct faculty at Kansas State, so I spend time between Manhattan and Ames, but raised in Iowa and back here at Iowa State University, where we're building some great programs for undergraduate learning in animal agriculture. Anyway, we're going to talk about heat stress today, and heat stress is something that we battle every summer in feedlot cattle. It is something that we also can understand more. And as we talk to people around the world, and Meat and Livestock Australia has developed a new program, and one of the things we need to understand about heat stress is the heat outside plus the heat that's generated inside the body. If that is greater than what the animal can release the heat, then the body starts to accumulate heat, and that's what causes the heat stress. So the first thing we have to monitor is the thermal heat load index, okay? And so that heat load index is a little bit different than what we would call the thermal heat index or the THI. And it adjusts for 4 things, basically: ambient temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, and then the black globe temperature. So when you think about it, to develop this index, the things that increase the heat load index, when we have increased temperature, and if we have increased humidity, and if we have increased ultraviolet rays, which is measured by that black globe temperature, when those 3 things go up, the heat load index goes up. However, if we catch a breeze, if the wind speed increases, as wind speed increases, heat load index goes down. That's the reason why we can have cattle feel comfortable on very hot days as long as there's a breeze. There are other days where it's maybe not as hot as what we thought it was, or an 85-degree day with no breeze can feel more miserable than a 95-degree day with a nice breeze, one of those hot breezes. Anyway, As the heat load index increases, as that number increases, those animals will accumulate heat load. So for every degree or every unit of heat load index above what the animal can stay at neutral, that animal begins to accumulate. So you can imagine that an animal is at a neutral heat load index temperature in the morning. And then as we move through the afternoon and the temperature increases and maybe the humidity increases and the wind dies down, all of a sudden that animal begins to accumulate heat load in the body. We call that accumulated heat load. As the day increases, that animal is going to accumulate and store more heat in the body. And then at night is when it dissipates. I'll come back to this and we'll talk a little bit more about how this affects the calf's body right after these messages.
Producers know stress costs money. It puts their cattle at greater risk of illness and can be a substantial drain on animal performance. That's why ZenPro developed. If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.
Four generations before me did their job providing this opportunity to me and my siblings. If I do things right, I'm going to lay that opportunity out for my kids.
My entire family is a vital element of a job you have to get done.
But, it's just fun to be around the family and doing this.
And you'll do the right thing for the business. You will do the right thing for the cows because it's for a family.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk, Dr. Dan Thomson. And as we left, we were talking about thermal heat load, or the heat load index. And so as heat load index goes above the thermal neutral zone of the calf, every hour that calf is above that level to where they can't get rid of heat, they are accumulating heat. So the accumulated heat load index is how much heat that calf's body is accumulating. So we've already established, as humidity goes up, as ambient temperature goes up, as ultraviolet rays go up, we increase heat load index. As wind speed goes up, we decrease the heat load index. If we have a heat load index that is above the thermal neutral zone of those cattle, the body accumulates heat. That's the reason why it is so important to not only watch the daytime temperatures, but to also watch the nighttime temperatures. Because if we don't get night cooling, and if we don't get it to a point where that calf actually goes below their neutral zone and it has a point in time of cooling off, those animals will continue to accumulate heat. So let's say that we have the perfect storm for a heat stress wreck is to have a big thunderstorm come through in July, put a lot of moisture on the ground, and then we get some very clear, hot, windless days. We have a lot of humidity in the air from that moisture from the rain. We have and this is what will kill cattle. So anyway, as that happens, and we have that increased humidity, the increased temperatures, those cattle can't cool down at night. So usually what would happen in a normal day, calf would accumulate heat during the day, they dissipate their heat at night. But because of this humidity, because of this temperature, these cattle accumulate heat during the day, they don't dissipate any heat during the evening, and the next day they accumulate more heat. So now they have 2 days of heat accumulated in their body. It may be 2, 3, and then on day 4 is when we start to see calves drop off. So what is important to understand is that just because we may have 3 or 4 hot days in a row, and now we have a cool day, and we decide we're going to work cattle, it may be that because of the number of days that these cattle have been exposed to heat stress, you may need to take some time off, 2 or 3 days of cooling weather, to allow those cattle to dissipate that heat, to give off that accumulated heat load that's in their body before you work them. And one of the rules of thumb we use is when we're in times of heat stress is that we don't have more than one heat stress event during a day for the cattle. One of them might be gathering the cattle. That's a heat stress event. So bringing them up. The next one might be processing or working cattle. So that's a heat stress event. So we bring them up, we let them set, we work them the next day, let them set, and the next day we take them back to their home pen. Transportation, as soon as that heat load index goes up, there's an immediate danger point in which cattle that we're going to work or we're going to move could succumb to heat stress. And then there's also the understanding of cattle in their home pen not being able to cool off at night, accumulating heat load can have issues as well. When we come back, more about heat stress in cattle.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first, and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today. Producers know stress costs money. It puts their cattle at greater risk of illness and can be a substantial drain on animal performance. That's why ZenPro developed
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here from Iowa State University, and we're talking about heat stress. One of the things you need to start gauging is how to assess cattle for heat stress. A normal calf will have, when we assign heat stress scores, the two things we're really looking at are panting, and we're looking at respiratory rate. The normal respiratory rate will be between 30 and 60, but usually around 40. So a calf with a panting score of 0 and a respiration rate of 40 is normal. The first thing cattle are going to do when they start to feel heat stress is they're going to stand up because the ground gets hot. So if you see all the cattle standing and no cattle lying, you're going to know that dirt is pretty hot and those cattle are starting to get uncomfortable and suffer from some heat stress. Okay. The next thing you'll see as a slight heat stress is they'll start increasing their respiration rate. Cattle sweat. They sweat in their armpits and their crotch. And most of the heat that they give off is like a radiator out of their body, off the skin surface. But when they reach a certain point of getting stressed, they start increasing their respiration rate because they can do evaporative cooling. Just like a dog that pants or any other animal that pants, cattle will increase that and they start having the evaporative cooling. So we'll see a slight increase in first thing we'll see is cattle stand up and they start breathing faster. The next thing we'll see is cattle are standing up, they're breathing faster, and they start to get a little bit of saliva around their muzzle. That can be an indication that they're starting to suffer a little bit more and they're starting to get hot. So after they see the muzzle, the next thing you're going to see is the calf will actually open their mouth to breathe. And when we see open mouth breathing and cattle that are open mouth breathing, they're really starting to get to that point where they're trying to dissipate heat. They're trying to move a lot of air and get a lot of evaporative cooling going. So it's something that you need to watch for. When we start to see these panting scores of 4, open mouth breathing, excessive salivation coming out of the mouth, and they will get their respiration rates up to 160 or more. So they're panting, and they have to, because if they take deep breaths, they hyperventilate. So cattle that are taking shallow breaths are trying to move a lot of air back and forth for evaporative cooling, but they don't want to take in too much air so that they don't hyperventilate. So cattle behavior 101, when you start to see heat stress, they're going to align with the sun. That decreases the amount of body surface that the sun is actually touching. So they're going to stand in line with the sun and they try to get skinny, right? The other thing they're going to do is they're going to try to seek shade. They're going to start to increase time standing. They're going to decrease the amount of feed that they eat. You're going to see crowding at the water trough. And when we see crowding at the water trough, that's another key indication of heat stress. And one of the things you can do at that point in time is to bring in excess water tanks, especially for big fat cattle, just to increase surface area and to increase the amount of water tank space. More after these messages.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.
You know, we went through a number of years ago a terrible trick wreck where we were coming in 30% dry. You know, and in those days you didn't have trick guards, so we tried iprapram, we tried culling bulls. You know, we killed 200 head of bulls one year on this ranch to try to get rid of it and bringing in new bulls. We tried flushing, tried everything. So when trick guard came along, it was truly a godsend for me, and we use it religiously. I mean, I have neighbors that do have tricks sporadically. We don't. We haven't had I think in probably 12 years or better, we just haven't had an instance of trick. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't test every dry cow for trick, but, it's pretty easy to see the results. Trick guard is very dear to my heart.
Producers know stress costs money. It puts their cattle at greater risk of illness and can be a substantial drain on animal performance. That's why ZenPro developed ProFusion.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson. We're talking about heat stress in cattle. So what can I do to prevent heat stress? The first thing you can do is you can mow the weeds around your facility. That increases airflow. The other thing I like to do is I like to build mounds in my pens. And what that allows is cattle, when they're heat stressed, they'll go up on top of those mounds and they'll catch a breeze. Those mounds also help when you have rain, giving cattle a dry place to lay down in the winter. So knock down the weeds, put some mounds in there where cattle can get catch a breeze. We want to make sure we have adequate water tank space. If you get into a point in time where you're having cattle that are really, really desperate with heat stress, we have to worry about two things at that point in time: shade for these cattle and water. And what we will do with shade during times of heat stress is we need 20 square foot of shade per animal. And you can do things where we have just put shade up at an angle on the top of a top rail of a fence to provide some shade and relief. You can put up temporary shades. You can build permanent shades. But make sure that they're tall enough. The higher they get, the more shade they provide for the amount of cloth or the amount of fabric or whatever it is you build your shade out of on the ground. You want your shades to move during the day across the pen, because if you don't, what will happen is if you put one shade in the middle of the pen, go buy a temporary shade that's a square, and all the cattle get up underneath it, they will urinate and they will defecate there the entire day, creating more humidity, creating places of a mud bog, and those cattle will you'll not only have heat stress from the humidity and those cattle underneath that shade, but you'll wind up getting foot rot, because they'll get really soft hooves standing underneath that shade, and they'll come out and then go step on the hard cracks as they go to the feed bunk. For water, we prioritize. The first thing we do is we look at the fattest cattle or the most finished cattle first, and then we work our way down. But if we see cattle gathering at the water tank, it might mean that we need to have an extra automatic water in those pens. But it also may mean just to get the big silver galvanized tanks, put them in the pen. Now, don't get tanks that are too big, because the water will get hot, okay? So refilling it with cool water multiple times a day is better. The other thing, if you get in an emergency situation, you can actually roll plastic down your feed bunk, put sandbags on the end, and water the entire pen in the feed bunk as well. If by chance you have an animal that goes down with heat stress, one of the things you need to do is immediately cool that animal off with water. And some people have recommended treating them with dexamethasone. Okay? So, in a nutshell, watch the thermal heat index. Make sure that we have a thermal load, that we understand the thermal heat load, understand that cattle can accumulate heat over multiple days. We cease and desist activity when we're times of heat stress, so we give those cattle a break and we don't overheat them by moving them, especially fat cattle. And then make sure you understand how to understand when cattle have heat stress. Make sure you understand what to do to prevent it by changing some things in your facility, and make sure the cattle have plenty of water and some shade. Thanks for watching us. If you want to know more about what we do at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. Always work with your local veterinarian, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Profusion Drench for beef cattle, a no prescription, no needle supplement. To learn more, go to zenpro.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals. ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first, and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.